Hello there, it is Nick Zangl, live from California. Thank you so much for waiting a few minutes. I know I jumped on a few minutes late. I was making sure I had everything good. We are going to cover three pop culture related stories today, and I'm going to jump right into them. And as in between each story, I'm going to check the live chat. So if you're coming in at whatever time, make sure to say hi. If you're watching the replay, there will be timestamps in the description. So if you want to skip to a certain topic that you're more interested in than others, then that is perfect. So let's jump right into the first one. Let me make sure I have everything good. All right. Let's make sure I'm sharing correctly. All right. So everything looks good. Let's go right here to. All right. So the first one I want to catch us up on is the Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez situation. I made a video when the first announcement of their breakup hit the news cycle, and then all of a sudden they were back together, and now they have officially broken up. And I referenced this in my last video, but I think I might be wrong about, or partially wrong about this whole thing being a publicity stunt for their businesses, because when because they're now officially broken up, like I said, but the back and forth before the final breakup announcement, I think could have been a publicity strategy to get to the eventual news of them actually breaking up, but to kind of soften the blow to their image and to their businesses, which I will touch on their businesses in a second. But it seems that the first time the news broke, it was a lot more widespread and a lot more harsh reaction, and kind of people were sad because they liked them together. But then so that was bigger than the second time they announced their breakup, because in between there was some signs that they maybe were going to work it out or get back together. But I will table their relationship status for the third subcategory of the Jennifer Lopez Alex Rodriguez situation, and kind of has to do with his makeup line that he just announced, which I'm going to talk about. But I thought it was very interesting that I don't know if they intentionally did that or if there was something else going on, but it seems like it ended up working out, because it appears that they have suffered minimum damage to their images and to their brands. I know there's allegations that Alex cheated. I touched on those in past videos as well, but to be honest, I mean, he's kind of been wrapped up in cheating allegations from what I remember, even when he was playing baseball, and just the image and the stereotype that comes with being a professional athlete. He's probably been hit with allegations of cheating for a long time. And so if he is alleged to have cheated on Jennifer Lopez, like I said before, I don't personally understand it, but and you'll see some people's comments later about that, but it wouldn't, I don't think, tarnish his reputation any more than it has in the past, because that's nothing new as far as people alleging that to Alex Rodriguez. So there is that part of the Alex situation. But let's move on to what has come out since then, which you have probably seen, and you probably remember this from before. But let me go to the next image here. And that is the Bennifer situation. And I know some people are probably gonna be like, what is this? And a lot of you are probably gonna be like, I remember this and that's interesting, but you, Nick, don't seem old enough to know what this is. And I only know what Bennifer is because, one, it was such a monumental thing as far as like shipping two celebrity names together and what that has turned into internet wise. And then I used to be a big fan of those shows where they would recap like certain decades. So like I love the 80s, I love the 90s, I love the 2000s, those kind of VH1 shows before kind of the internet really took off and started doing those independently. But I've always seen, and when they would recap like Jennifer Lopez's career and her early music, this always came up. So that's how I know about it. But it's interesting that it's coming back. And so what I initially thought when I heard and saw pics of Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck kind of hanging out together or pictured together, as we see in this image here, I thought about what I just talked about as far as the ship names goes. But it's interesting because the nostalgia trend, I initially thought when I saw this, the nostalgia trend in Hollywood has now reached or gone back to taking inspiration from the early 2000s celebrity shipping, and it indicated to me that this is another indication that we've reached a new low as far as the lack of originality in content in general at all levels of entertainment industry. And so this to me shows that the industry is likely grasping at anything at this point to stay afloat after a period leading up to the pandemic where there was already kind of a lack of originality, and it was a very revival, reboot centric industry, and it still is to some extent now. But then in the pandemic, when the pandemic happened, everything got shut down, and this has affected virtually every aspect of the industry, mostly for the worst. So that was one thought I had. And then it also reminded me of one of the other really famous power couples in the early 2000s, which was Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. And a few years back, when they both happened to be nominated for Screen Actors Guild Awards, SAG Awards, and they both were pictured together backstage at that award show, and the huge media story that came out of that in the same realm of nostalgia, early 2000s shipping. And of course, at the time, Jennifer was getting divorced and Brad Pitt was getting divorced. So there was all this speculation that they could get back together or whatever. And recently, it seems like she's pretty friendly with him now, because I've been watching a few interviews of the Friends cast as they prepare for the reunion to go to be live on HBO Max tomorrow. Today's Wednesday, so yeah, tomorrow, Thursday, which by the way, doing a video on that. It'll be coming out. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a premiered video, not a live stream, probably Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. So be on the lookout for that, but probably going to film it Friday after I watch the special tomorrow night. But anyways, it seems like they're not going to get back together, and they're pretty friendly because she mentioned him as a co-star and how he was great. So I think it's just very interesting what's going on here. And yeah, I don't know. It's just very interesting to see all this kind of coming back together. And I think honestly, it is kind of fun to look back and reminisce on these things, especially when we're in a challenging time. I think that's a natural thing for us to kind of look back on the times that we felt were a little more simple and a little more stable, even though I personally am not that old, but I still look back on like the early 2000s, pre-2010, pre-2008, and kind of look back on it and kind of wish we had that time, even though at that time we probably were looking back on the 90s and whatnot. So anyways, I think it's interesting, but we can look back and reminisce, right? But we can also get into theories on why maybe we can do this in the future, but why the industry is short on originality in recent memory and currently. And we can also say, though, that it's safe to say at some point there won't be anything else to recycle. And so I'll be watching this theme in the industry very closely in the coming years to see how it evolves, and if we continue down the nostalgia line and see how long that lasts, or if audiences and consumers like us eventually demand more originality and crave it to the point where the industry reacts. So we'll see kind of how that pans out. So let me know what your thoughts are on this one. And I'm going to get to one more topic regarding Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez. And then we will check the live chat and continue on the next two topics. So the third one in the jrod J-Lo situation is this, which is, let me zoom in a little bit for you. Control Z, Control Plus. There we go. Which is the Alex Rodriguez announced that he has a makeup line. And at first people were confused, but I want to kind of explain this a little bit, because the more you dig into this, the more it makes somewhat sense, but I'll get into that later. But so some were confused because obviously he is best known as a baseball player, as I alluded to earlier, and that you would not put baseball player and makeup in stereotypically or typically in the same category. But when I think about it, he is in broadcasting, So obviously, I think it's pretty well known now that no matter what your gender or identity is, you probably are wearing makeup if you're on camera. And he knows he's on the business side of things, very successful, which we'll touch on in a second. But he knows men wearing makeup just in general, not just for entertainment purposes, is becoming more acceptable. I'm pretty sure he knows this, but is becoming more acceptable and common. But also, when you think about A-Rod off the field, he has been known as kind of a quote unquote pretty boy. I know that's not really the most like politically correct term, but GQ fashion person off the field. And so it's not that out of the normal for him. Now, if someone who isn't really known as that type of person off the field, let's say, I don't know, Mike Trout or someone like that, or I'm trying to think of other baseball players who aren't known like that. Some of the more rough and tough ball players or athletes, it would be weird for them, I think, to promote this. But A Rod's always been kind of known as the clean cut playboy type person, and so I think this isn't that far of a stretch for him. But I want to get to two articles actually. One which is an article which kind of breaks down what this makeup line even is, and from Alex himself in the press release, and then another one that goes more into detail about why or his connection to Jennifer Lopez and this company that he partnered with for this makeup. So, if you have any thoughts as we're talking, I'm going to get into your comments in a few seconds, but let me share my screen with you. Let's share. All right. So this is the article. Let me add to screen. And it's from Breitbart, but it has information that we need right now. So I'm going to start with his tweet about it, which is what he said to launch this. Let me zoom in a little more for you. This is what I was making sure I had ready before I got on live, so that's why I was a little late. All right, that's better. So he said, this is Alex Rodriguez on his Twitter account on May 20th, so about 6 days ago. He said, quote, working with the We Are Hims and We Are Hers team, I wanted to create a product that solved an issue I faced every day. I realized as I was jumping from meeting to meeting, I needed something quick and easy in my routine to conceal blemishes or razor bumps. He went on to say, that's why I'm excited to share a new We Are Hims product, the Blur Stick. It's a convenient concealer specifically designed for men that can be used for skin imperfections. And then he links in the place you can buy it. Breitbart went on to say, according to a press release, the Blur Stick is available in 8 shades ranging from fair to deep and comes packaged in a sleek container with a screw top lid that makes carrying it throughout the day mess and hassle-free. The tube, the size of a lip balm, has ingredients that soothe and moisturize while providing quick, smooth coverage that can seamlessly hide dark under-eye circles and camouflage blemishes in a matter of seconds. The Blur Stick is the newest addition to the Hims and Hers suite of skincare products that always includes a selection of moisturizers, serums, and supplements, along with access to customizable RX solutions for anti-aging and acne. So, that's basically what the product is. They go on to kind of share a few of the reactions to this, which they say naturally his tweet brought a wave of ridicule and allusions to his former paramour, J-Lo, and they say one user joked, quote, can this also be used on humans? I'm not sure what's dumber, buying makeup from a guy or buying makeup from the guy that cheated on J-Lo. That's the kind of comments I was telling you about earlier. And basically, they have a quote here saying why they broke up. They said they realized they were better as friends and looking forward to remaining so, and will continue to work together and support each other on their shared businesses and projects. So I think that's great. And then this is the part that actually triggered me to want to look more into Hims and Hers, because according to Breitbart, they said the pair continue to work together in their Hims and Hers wellness company, though the new men's makeup stick is A-Rod's first major foray into that field. The company recently went public after merging with Oaktree Acquisition Corp in a deal that valued the enterprise at $1.6 billion. And I did not know, because I've seen Hims and Hers, I think at Target or other places, and I'm like, it looks cool packaging, whatever. I don't use any of the products, but I was like, I had no idea that was theirs. And I thought I remember hearing them investing in a wellness company, but I didn't make the connection that that was the one I was seeing in the stores. And so that leads me to the next one I want to share with you, which is, let's go to that one. Hold on one second. Which is more information on their part of the deal of what um, their what am I trying to say? Their end of what their involvement is in the company. There we go. Okay, so here we go. So let's start with paragraph 3. So it says Rodriguez and Lopez invested in Hims and Hers in 2019, around the time venture capitalist enthusiasm for the brand vaulted into the unicorn status and the market slang for a startup that reaches a $1.1 billion private market valuation. By the way, I'm going to have both articles linked in the description as well, so just beware of that. So you can read more into these and give support to the people who made these articles. But the valuation at 60% for this Oaktree SPAC, which I believe is special something. But anyways, means that the investment is already paying off for A-Rod and J-Lo, and their stake could be worth as much as $79 million based on the fact that they own less than 5% of the equity of the business. And that was basically more or less what I wanted to find out, but it talks about Hims and Hers other backings, and I just thought it was very interesting how that their business savvy is on along this line. So it wasn't super surprising that once I read into it why he was doing this, and kind of they were very smart about the marketing behind it, in my opinion. And this also brings up a conversation which we could have together, if you will, about let me actually stop sharing this for a second. Hold on one second. Let me go back to my pictures. This could go back to the conversation around the pink tax, which is something that came up. I think it was in the news a few years ago, maybe a year ago, a little over a year ago, right before the pandemic happened. And the idea behind women paying more for products that are branded to them in certain ways in pink packaging or whatever, when the men's version, which is basically the same, is less money. So we could have that conversation regarding this around typically women's products, meaning makeup or cosmetics, and then the male version packaged for men. Does it work both ways as far as there being a male tax for stuff that's not typically men's products because maybe they need to charge more because it's not as popular at the moment? I don't know, but we can have that discussion if you're watching the replay, if you're in the live chat right now, about that, and we can talk about that. But those are my thoughts on the whole A-Rod, J-Lo, Bennifer, A-Rod makeup line situation. So let me know what you think, and if we don't have any thoughts or any questions in the chat, then I will move on to our next topic, which has to do with one of our royal people here in America now, which is Mr. Prince Harry. So let me make sure I have my thoughts up here. So Prince Harry was recently in the headlines again, which I'm sure we will have to get used to that here in America because they're prominent people now in America, whether you like it or not. But he got in trouble and basically got widespread panning, but most of the coverage of the people criticizing him were conservative, right-leaning people, for obvious reasons, because Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are not that, so they had to point out the other side saying conservative or Republicans attack Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Anyways, that's the spin that they always do. But he basically hit at the bashed the First Amendment, kind of, or at least didn't make himself sound very educated on it. But Mr. Harry, I'm going to break out my British accent for the first time. Mr. Harry, who is the 6th in line to the throne, now residing in Montecito, California, was recently on the Dax Shepard podcast titled The Armchair Expert, and he had some interesting thoughts. So I'm going to read his quote. This is Prince Harry on the Dax Shepard Armchair Expert on the First Amendment. Quote, I don't want to start sort of going down the First Amendment route because that's a huge subject and one in which I don't understand because I've only been here a short period of time, but you can find a loophole in anything, and you can capitalize or exploit what's not said rather than uphold what is said. I've got so much I want to say about the First Amendment as I sort of understand it, but it is bonkers. End quote. Let me know how my British accent was. I'm working on it because I'm going to be covering him a lot probably recently, or a lot as we come up. And he's a fellow ginger, so we have to keep up with our fellow gingers. But some of my thoughts on that whole quote, which it's funny because when British people say stuff like that, it comes out very elegant and non-threatening, but if you really break it down, it's kind of scary what he said in this case, which was, one, I think I'm glad he's trying to understand and he's saying that he's open to understanding what's going on. And also, I don't know how calculated this topic being brought up during the podcast and his response was, but it's kind of one of the biggest things to bring up and kind of hit and kind of bash if you're going to come to America, especially if you are a monarch from Britain, which is the country and the monarchy in which our country, the United States, was founded on or broken away from to found our own country. It's a very interesting dynamic, and the First Amendment is arguably the most important amendment and the one that everything else is based off of, and what makes us different. But also, this may support my argument from the last few videos I did on the royal family and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in America in general, which is that their intentions on moving to America with a baby on the way might be more than just escaping the crown. It could be more of an actual move to influence the United States of America and potentially long-term moving America closer to the crown again. So I don't know. That's all speculation, but every time I hear a story from them, I'm like, they clearly are trying to change America in some way or some influence over us. So very interesting. What also is ironic is that the First Amendment, although he says he doesn't quite understand it, the First Amendment in the US protects his rights to say in America that he doesn't understand the First Amendment or he thinks it's bonkers or whatever, which is the most ironic part of this whole story. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe people will finally wake up to what's really happening. I don't know, but I just thought the whole story was, I think it made such big headlines for all those reasons because it is so like the perfect storm of just something to talk about. So anyways, let me know what you think of that in the comments and in the live chat. And let me take a sip of water before we move on to the next, while I get the next one ready. All right. So the third, and let me zoom in a little. So the third and final topic I would like to touch on today, updating pop culture stories that I have touched on over the past few months, is Elliot Page. And now, if you don't know, Elliot Page, formerly known as Ellen Page, who was an actress, now we have Elliot Page, the actor, recently posted his first topless, shirtless photo since having top surgery, I guess is the proper term. And while most people would be like, okay, whatever, a lot of backlash ensued, and it was around the conversation about cultural and social norms, especially on Instagram where the photo was posted, around who can post what and why there's a double standard or a different standard for people presenting as male and people presenting as female. So first I want to show you the photo. Let me share my screen with this. I'll show it really quick. I won't leave it on the screen for long, but so this is the photo of Elliot, and okay, there it is. You can decide what you think of it and what you don't. And let me go back to sharing the regular picture. And so that was the photo that got people kind of riled up. And personally, I don't necessarily see, well, so my thoughts on this are the whole conversation around who can pose topless or shirtless, and the fact that we call women not wearing a top topless and we call men not wearing a top shirtless. But on Instagram, apparently the rules are if you're a woman, you can't show your breasts or any part of it, but if you're a man, you can show your chest if that makes sense. And the only rationale I can think around why this is the way it is, and I know there's a lot of backlash, usually from more progressive liberal types, if you will, and women, is why if men can show their chest, why can't women show their chest? The only rationale, only reasoning I can think of in this realm is because men's chests, nipples, whatever, breasts, pecs, whatever you want to call them, are not used as reproductive organs, from my understanding, and women's breasts are. Because on Instagram, showing your lower part, like a men's reproductive parts down there and women's, both of those are not allowed on Instagram from what I understand, but the difference comes in the tops. And the only thing I can think of reasonably and rationally is women's breasts are used for breastfeeding and for nursing babies, and men's are not. And from what I understand, the only real use for men's breasts or nipples or whatever is kind of like a temperature regulation, from what I understand, or just kind of pleasure if people like that. So let me know what you think of this, if I'm onto something here and kind of helping you understand this, or if you think that the double standard should not exist between men and women on Instagram and social media in general regarding what they can show and what they can't. This even extends to real life, obviously, like at a water park or at a pool. Men and male presenting people can show their tops or their chests, and women can't. So let me know what you think of that. That one was really quick, that story, because there wasn't much else to talk about, but I thought it was good to bring that part up. So I'm going to check the chat. If you have anything that you want to say, or any questions about what I'm talking about, if you are watching the replay, feel free to comment down below anything. I still check the comments even after the live stream is done. And if you don't have anything else, then I'm going to wrap up here. I am going to be going. Oh, hey, Violet. Violet says, "Hi, Nick. Thank you for finding these sources and putting them together." You're very welcome. I'm trying to do more of that now that I have the capability to share my screen. I think it's important, and I'm trying to find different sources here and there, and try not to go to the same go-to ones. Trying to find little different ones. So hopefully that helped illustrate and give you some information, and kind of compile it all into one programming note. Tomorrow at the same time, so Thursday, I'm going to be doing my episode 2 Real Housewives of Beverly Hills recap and thoughts, which it's going to start airing in about an hour. So I'm going to be watching it and putting that video together. And then, like I said earlier, tomorrow, Thursday, the Friends reunion will go live on HBO Max. And so I'm going to watch it and give my thoughts on that as well. But that will come up as a premiere, is what I'm thinking. I'm going to record it on Friday, edit it, and then premiere it so we can watch it together, that video of mine, and chat. And also, if you are planning on watching it and maybe you can't watch it for a few more days, then at least you will, I'll make sure like you can still watch it whenever after you watch the special, so that way you're not getting spoiled on anything. A lot of things have already kind of come out about it, so I'm gonna be watching for things that haven't been said yet, and I already have some thoughts about some of the headlines that came out before the special airs tomorrow, and compare it to what I see myself and just some other observations that I have. So make sure you're on the lookout for that. And okay, Violet said, "Thank you. I came late, but I look forward to tomorrow." Yes, and this all the lives are on replay, so if you want to go back to the beginning and watch the whole thing, I'm gonna add timestamps like right now, so you can do that. And yeah, see you all in the next one. I hope you have had a great day so far, and hope you have a great rest of your night, and talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.